I'm Juan from Fit PD, and I want to thank all the listeners that have joined us because hopefully we can get a conversation going that is going to educate people on the fact that law enforcement is in desperate need. We need to be strong and skilled to avoid killing people. And Ashley, thank you for joining me in this journey because I know you and I have a lot of experience with law enforcement and just different aspects of law enforcement. And what I'm hoping to be able to do is to spark a conversation with people that are the actual decision makers that can actually get police the training that they need. And I know that you train cops across the nation. What are you seeing across the nation?
Oh, a lot. Where do I start? Um, there's so many people like us that are trying to encourage cops to train in every major city, every state. But most cops just don't, and I think it comes down to a couple different factors. I think it's time and money. I think a lot of police officers look at training as like an extension of work, and they're like, "Oh, I already worked, 45 hours this week, or 40 hours this week. I don't want to work more." Maybe it's ego. Maybe they're afraid of going to the gym and getting their butt kicked by someone that's half their size, and you know but I don't know. I think it's a lot of different factors.
I agree with you. There's a lot of different factors, but you know what? The need is still there. We need to get trained up because, I mean, I'll speak for myself, but having trained cops at the police academy for, over 20 years, some of the things that you see are a little bit concerning because you have cops that come in, brand new recruits off the street, and you put them in an environment where now they are put in a scenario where they have to fight with someone and they've never been in a fight before. And there's some of them that will overreact and use more force than necessary. And some of them will resort to their guns in a situation that doesn't warrant using a gun. What kind of stuff have you seen?
Yeah, I've seen working at two different police academies the last almost 4 years. I see a lot of recruits using excessive force, and not only at the academy, but we see it on social media when different accounts play videos of police officers using force, and a lot of times it is excessive. A lot of times it's ineffective force because they don't know what they're doing, and ineffective force has the appearance of excessive force.
That ineffective force that you're talking about, something as simple as trying to get somebody under control on the ground, and some cops resort to punching excessively, or they lose control of the person. They even lose control of some of their tools, and I contribute that to the lack of training.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I believe almost every department in the country, it's once a year or once every 18 months. I mean, and police officers go hands on every week with the citizens. So it's really sad to see the lack of training officers get, after they graduate the academy. And, that's why we try to motivate so many officers. If your police department isn't offering like free jujitsu or free combatives training in house, then you have to seek it on your own.
Yeah, and so many people are just hesitant to go and find the training on their own. Um, I mean, when you go to different departments in different parts of the U.S., how many people show up to that training?
It just depends. A lot of it depends on the company and like how big they are and like how much of a draw do they get on social media. Um, I've been to seminars where there's 40 cops, and then I've held seminars where I get 3 that show up. So
Yeah, that's really it's kind of sad because it almost feels like we're not taking our profession seriously, and we need to. We need to. I remember I I worked for an agency that's close to 2,000 people, or somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000, and uh, you held a seminar, and there were probably less than half a dozen people from that agency that showed up.
Yeah, the donation based one.
Correct,
So
that one.
all they had to do was donate $1 to get in, and it was very little turnout. And it was to raise money for an officer shot in the line of duty.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's man, that's troubling. It's troubling because a lot of the cases that we see across the nation where some peace officer gets into hot water for excessive use of force. I mean, and we don't even have to look across the nation. We can see some local cases here. And if I saw that and I was a brand new cop, I would find the nearest gym.
Yeah. I think, unfortunately, not everyone has our mindset. And I think a lot of cops become reliant on their tools and they just think, oh, well, I'll just tase them and it's going to work all the time. Or I have my baton, like I have my covers 30 seconds away. I'm good. Like that's never going to happen to me. And, unfortunately, that's the wrong mindset for this career.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know what? The fact that you and I teach together often, right? I love that because you being female and smaller stature, right? That brings some stereotypes.
Mm-hmm.
And for myself, being older, closer to 60 than 50, that brings some stereotypes. And so, I mean, if you and I are still doing stuff, and of course, I'm not at your level, but we're still doing stuff. There's no excuse for these young men and women to come in and at least try to become a better version than they were yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, me and you are both still actively training, and my professional fight career is most likely over. Like, I don't plan on fighting again unless I get some like amazing opportunity. I don't need to train anymore, but I do. I do for myself, and I do because I want to motivate these other officers, and I want to continue to learn and grow as an instructor as well. Because if I stop training, then I feel like me being an instructor, the growth is going to stop. So I have several motivating factors to still get in the gym and do jiu-jitsu, do wrestling, do boxing, and still keep up with my skills and continue to improve. And I know, you do the same and you feel the same. So, and as a female instructor, it's been very rewarding over the years to see other female recruits that I know look up to me. And, I know I have motivated others, men and women, to train. So that is great to see. But unfortunately, it is a small percent that I think I get to get in their heads like, hey, find a gym and train. Doesn't matter what gym it is, find a gym close to where you live and continue to train throughout your career.
Well, when you talk about being a mentor, I mean, not only is it because you're out there doing what you're asking people to do, and you're doing it like every single day, but also, I mean, like, you look at your resume and come on, you're a professional fighter, right? You high level jujitsu, striker. You teach at a couple of different academies, as well as, you have your own program, defensive tactics program, and you go across the nation teaching people. I mean, that's the kind of instructor I want to be working with, so I can learn from them. So when young men and women see this or hear about you, of course they want to learn from you. You know what I mean? It's I think it should be a requirement for all instructors to at least be active in our trade.
Yeah, and I think it should be a requirement to have a martial arts background, and unfortunately, not every instructor does.
Yeah, and I agree with you. The thing is that you don't even have to have like a MMA background. You can just have either ground or stand up or something, something. And I know that some people argue that the skills don't change. However, when you're in there currently, like you probably trained this morning, I trained this morning, and and you're getting in the mix with people, you can't replace that because you come in and you're asking people to do something that you just did this morning or you just did yesterday. And you're learning. You're constantly learning. I feel like we're constantly learning. It's a perishable skill.
Absolutely. I mean, we talk about that all day. But yeah, I mean, when recruits or police officers that train under me ask me questions, I can answer them because I've been there as a police officer. I've been there in my martial arts career training. And, unfortunately, some instructors might not be able to answer every question just because they don't have, they have the police background, but I don't know what their martial arts background is. Some of them have it and some of them don't.
It's important to be well-rounded.
Correct.
Yeah, you got to have some martial arts. You got to have the field experience. You got to have just a good foundation so that you can teach new people, which is what we're doing. We're teaching new people. Speaking of new people, we have people that come in and what do you see like with a new academy class? Like what kind of experience do they share that they have?
As far as like athletic experience, some recruits say they have a martial arts background on their first day, and then we get into the mat room and I question that. I'm not sure if that's correct. I think Taekwondo and karate does not count in that, but some people count that. Some people have some recruits are like, oh, I played football or I played hockey, which is, they're rough sports. And yes, so you're getting physical contact, but, you can't replace that with martial arts. There's no comparison.
Absolutely. There's no comparison. You know what? I've seen recruits that come through that are former football players. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean high school. Like, I don't want to say any names or any teams, but we're talking NFL. Mm-hmm. And we're talking large people over 6'2", 6'3", and well over 300 pounds.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of those folks get handled by instructors or role players that are half their size.
Yeah, we see that all the time. And, I think that's a good eye opener for the recruits to, especially when I play suspect and I'm a role player, they're like, wow, this person is half my size and I couldn't do anything to them. And it shows having a martial arts background, what you're capable of, no matter what your size is or your sex.
I saw a video this morning where there was a bodybuilder versus a BJJ guy, and they went at it. And the bodybuilder was a big old strong guy, and he got worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's just, to me, that's a good visual reminder of exactly what you just said. Skill over strength.
Yeah. I mean, that's the basis of jiu-jitsu. I mean, the Gracies say, like, it doesn't matter on the size. It's, that's why jiu-jitsu is so beautiful, is a smaller person can still win and be dominant.
Which is, I mean, I don't want to get into this, but something that I suggest for like self-defense for women. I mean, I have 2 little girls, and you know what? They need to be able to do some of the fundamentals of jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Me and my best friend, I won't say what department he works for, but we always talk about, he's very skilled in martial arts as well. We always talk about, we're both fit, we work out, we train regularly, we train together, and we talk about how, like, when we go out to dinner, it's like, we might not be the most muscular people in this restaurant, but we're the most dangerous.
I love that. Mm-hmm. I love that. It's funny to me because I notice with recruits and others, when you and I are working together, because I'm muscular and I'm a man, there's people that assume that I must be better than you. And it just blows my mind because if they only knew how wrong they are.
I mean, you're very skilled as well. Don't take away your skills. But no, I think, yeah, do a lot of recruits look at me and they're like, wow, she's small, she's a female. Like, what can she teach us? Yeah, I'm sure I get judged, especially at the beginning. But I do think over time, I do win a lot of them over once they see me showing the techniques. And I always make sure, and I do this, when I go to drill the techniques or show a technique, I always pick like one of the biggest guys in the class. And I do that on purpose because I want people to know, look, like it doesn't matter on your size. Like, so there's no excuses for the smaller people in class. They can't be like, well, I can't do this, I'm too small. No, you guys, I'm smaller than you and I just did it.
Right.
So there's no excuses.
And I mean, that's why I enjoy working with you, because people come in with stereotypes, and by the time we're done with our classes, man, I mean, it's just amazing how recruits react to us. They're so thankful, and a lot of them are really thankful because not only the way that we treat them, but with respect, but also because they learn from people that they probably stereotyped at the very beginning.
Yeah. I think that's, there's a lot of things that are amazing about being an instructor at the police academy, but I think one of the things that like really like pulls on my heart is at the end is like when we get recruits coming up to us and saying so many positive things, or we get, messages, thanking us for everything we did for them. And, that really touches me, and I appreciate their kind words, because we both try our hardest to treat them with respect, but also, we want them to learn, but we do it a certain way. And we really try to motivate them and let them know that we're here for you. Even 10 years down the road, if something happens, like, please come to us and we'll do what we can to help you.
It's definitely rewarding to teach, especially from all the positive feedback that we get from our students. And I think, at least for myself, that's what keeps me kind of motivated to make sure that those folks get the training that they need after they graduate. The sad thing is that departments are not going to invest if they don't have to. Yeah. They're satisfied with the minimum standard. I just don't want to pick up a newspaper. I mean, I know that's old school, but pick up my phone and look on social media, and then I read about somebody that I trained that got into something and now they're facing criminal charges.
Yeah.
When it could have been avoided through training. That's what I don't want to see.
Yeah. And I mean, for me as an instructor, I look at the recruits as like they're my children. Yeah. And, it would break my heart if that happens to one of my recruits. So that's why I put so much on my shoulders to continue to grow as an instructor, continue to train so I can be the best instructor I can be for these recruits.
I agree. Not only continue to train, but even to do this podcast. I feel passionate about making sure that cops I trained, and all cops, get the training that they need, that I'm willing to do this, put myself out there. I think if the right people hear just the conditions under which cops are training and the minimum standards that are kind of substandards, maybe decision makers can start looking at this topic and get better educated and actually train cops so that we minimize, if not eliminate, having to use excessive force and even kill people unnecessarily.
Yeah. And I mean, we've talked about it. Like, there's going to be people out there that don't like that we did this podcast. They're going to be angry about it. But, me and you are close and we talk all the time. If we can just motivate one police officer to find a gym and train, then, we're willing to stick our necks out there. It's
worth it. Yeah. It's worth it to save one person.
Yes.
Save one person. I mean, there's, it's just looking at the fact that advanced officer training or CPT, some other agencies call it. Um, Defensive tactics is only given every 12 to 18 months and a minimum of 4 hours. 4 hours. What can we possibly learn in 4 hours?
Yeah, I mean, a good example is if you lift weights once a year for 4 hours, you're not going to be good at lifting weights. You're not going to be good at anything in life if you do it once a year for 4 hours. So how do you expect police officers to get their 4 hours of training every 12 to 18 months and go out there and make good decisions and have effective force every time? It's just not going to happen. And it's sad. It's really sad.
It's almost like impossible in 4 hours.
If it was up to me, if I was president of the United States, I would make, I think officers, like let's say they work 4 10s, once a week needs to be a training day, whether it's firearms, combatives, CQB, like some type of training day. So one shift needs to be just training, and then the three other shifts are, you're working your beat.
Now, if the community actually listened to what we're saying, if they listen, because I don't disagree with the community when somebody is unnecessarily killed, right? I don't disagree with the community. I support the community. The thing is that if we took the time to actually listen to what's happening, cops are not being trained. The community should say, wait a minute. We can't defund the police. We need to figure out what's happening and provide them with the training that they actually need, wherever that comes from. Now, experts need to sit down and figure that out. I just want to spark that conversation.
Yeah, hopefully, this reaches the right people, the higher ups of the police departments, and it starts that conversation. And a big thing I hear, because I get officers that request seminars for their police departments, and I'll give them all the information, and they say, okay, I'm going to send it up the chain of command. And the biggest thing I hear coming back is, the brass said, well, they're worried about injuries. And that just blows my mind, because it's like, well, they're going to get injured in the field because they don't know what they're doing. It's like, you want your officers to get hurt, while 10-8, because, my 3.5 years of running my own combatives program for law enforcement, in 3.5 years, I've had one injury. It was a very minor injury. He was out for like a week, and, he's also an older officer. He's in his 50s, so you have to take that into account that, I've noticed as I'm getting older, I'm getting more injured compared to when I was in my 20s,
Right.
that factors in. So in 3.5 years, and I have 5 weekly classes and only one injury, I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Well, Ashley, you work at a 10th Planet, and do they have children's classes there?
Yes.
How can people put their kids into something that they might think is dangerous? I wouldn't put my kids into something that I think is dangerous. They have kids programs across the nation for jiu-jitsu and other types of MMA, and the injuries are very low. So
Extremely.
So for departments to have adults participate in something, I just don't understand why they would be against it.
Yeah, it blows my mind. If I was a high-level supervisor, I know what I would have my officers be doing. But even like, I just remember being in roll call my 12 years as a cop, and whatever supervisor was running that roll call, he or she would want to just talk about their weekend or where they went drinking at. And I'm like, this is 45 minutes for us to get some training in. Like, if I was a supervisor, I'd be putting on, videos on the screen, so we can break them down. I'd be showing little techniques, here and there, some basic ones while we're in roll call. Like, let's take this time to learn, not talk about where we went drinking over the weekend.
We do waste a lot of time if we, but the thing is also, what is the standard? Because supervisors get used to this. They learned it somewhere, and if somebody raised the standard or the expectation, then we would rise to that. And the problem is that we don't do that. We don't do that in law enforcement often. And when somebody does raise the expectation, oh man,
Yeah.
yeah,
Then
there's the backlash.
yep, haters come out.
Haters everywhere.
Yeah.
Haters everywhere. Yeah, I mean, that's a different topic that we can go on talking for a couple of hours just on that alone. But we'll leave it for another time because I have a lot to say about that one.
All right. Another episode.
Another episode. Now, as I look around, one thing that I would recommend to a young man or woman looking to become a cop these days is not only, does the department interview you, right, and ask you a bunch of questions about your background and why should we select you and what have you done to prepare and all that. I think nowadays I would want to ask the department, what have you done to prepare me, to keep me out of jail,
Yeah.
to keep me from using excessive force, to keep me from making the bad decisions due to lack of training? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, but everyone's going to be too afraid to ask that.
It might be the decision between getting hired and not getting hired,
exactly.
right? But I definitely would at least do the research and figure out who is doing what. Do I even want to work for that department?
Absolutely. You have to do a lot of research before you pick what agency you want to work for. So
I mean, especially nowadays with information being released to the public, you can just go online and do a lot of research, and without having to ask those tough questions in a lieutenant's interview.
yeah.
Yeah, you can get some answers. I was looking at one on social media, and one of the departments up north from here, Santa Clara, they were promoting their jiu-jitsu program.
Santa Ana?
No, Santa Clara.
Okay.
And they were promoting their jiu-jitsu program as something that they do to have for team building, and as well as, getting officers trained up so that they're safe in the streets. And not only are they safe, but then they keep everybody that they contact safe. And, we don't see that much, right?
No, it's rare. I thought you meant Santa Ana Police Department just because I did a seminar there with Brennan from BJJ Cops, and I was very impressed on the amount of training they give their officers.
What do they do over there?
So they have a huge mat room that has a boxing ring, obviously jiu-jitsu match. They kind of have like a cage for MMA. They have hanging bags, and they hold open sessions for the officers several times a week and different times of the day. So depending on your work schedule, you can make it in. They also have a huge workout facility.
Wow.
I've never seen this big of a gym at a police department before. And I've been to a lot of agencies, over the years just for traveling for seminars. And it was like, having a membership for like Lifetime Fitness. Like I couldn't believe it. I was like, Like I wanted to apply there. Like I was so impressed. I was like, oh my God, like I'm willing to move just to work for this agency.
I'm gonna have to go check that out because
it was very impressive.
we don't really have that here. We don't have that here. Although one agency, and I mean, the one I used to work for, is coming along. They have a wellness program where they included jiu-jitsu, and they're doing some like HIIT type of workouts, and they built a gym that's actually a pretty decent gym. It's they have kettlebells, free weights, machines, benches, leg pressing stuff, squat racks. I mean, it's pretty impressive for what I've seen down in Southern California.
Yeah, and hopefully more agencies see that and they follow and they're like, wow, like we need that too.
Hopefully, I think that's a step in the right direction, at least for mental health and physical health. I mean, because they go hand in hand, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And in talking to some other agencies down here, it almost seems as if liability is always at the forefront of the decision making, and they don't necessarily make that a priority.
Yeah. But hopefully this is maybe a step in the right direction now that one big agency is, doing those things. Maybe others will follow suit. Hopefully.
Hopefully, because not only are they doing that, but they're also training their new people and putting them through specialized trainings to set them up for success in the academy.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's at least in my experience, unprecedented.
Yeah.
If you're going to invest so much money in hiring somebody, you might as well train them up.
Yeah. It's impressive
Yeah,
that they're doing that.
That's just great. It's just great.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Do you see any wellness programs across when you train at other agencies?
The one I was impressed with the most was Border Patrol, local Border Patrol. I did a seminar there,
Yeah.
and I spoke to the officers just about my experience in martial arts, and they have a very good wellness program. I was very impressed by it. Yeah, they offer. Well, they had as well mat room that the officers can come train in at any time. They have a big gym with a lot of equipment, and their wellness program also provides in-house counseling. So at any time they want, they can just make an appointment, and the doctor's available. I thought that was very impressive.
I think it is. I mean, especially when I think back, there's so many incidents that you think will not affect you,
Mm-hmm.
and yet you take them home.
Yeah.
Yeah, they pop up unexpectedly, and sometimes. I mean, I know as cops we want to be tough and all, but we gotta create a culture where it's okay to reach out.
Yeah. I remember thinking years ago, like if I was, a chief at a department, I would want to hire like an in-house, therapist. And she has her own office inside the police department, and she's just available. She's available just to chat about how's your week going, to chat about anything you want. And it's anonymous. You can, no one's going to know when you're going in there. And I just think that would, if police officers could implement that, I know that would be more, financially, but I just think it would be very helpful.
Well, I mean, I hear you saying that, and I'm thinking, like, you know what, that would be great. And it doesn't have to be that expensive. Like, you can actually get interns that are working on their degrees or whatever they get. I don't know, not certificates, but they get their licenses.
Yeah.
And they got to put in hours.
Yeah. Yeah. You're
Why can't
right.
you put them in at the police department?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they're under a supervisor to make sure things are done well. But I mean, there are ways to work around that. I mean, that's a great idea.
I know police departments have peer support, which is good, but I think, at least from my experience at the two departments I worked for, some officers might feel uncomfortable to use peer support because those are your fellow officers.
Yeah.
So it's hard to open up because there's always that fear, like, well, are they going to tell someone how I'm feeling, or, can I trust this person? I work with them. And sometimes you don't want your coworkers to know what you're feeling or what you're going through. You feel more comfortable talking to a party has nothing to do with, law enforcement.
Yeah, I can see that. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, just the feelings generated in our career sometimes are things that we may not want to talk to another cop about or let other people know what's going on. Like even with use of force, there was a case down here in San Diego where an officer used several different tools on his belt, and they were ineffective. And the suspect drove away. drove away in a suspect vehicle. But this officer felt, you know, because it was caught on video by a bystander, and they posted it on social media. So this officer felt that all the comments that were being made were a personal attack, and so he didn't even get the opportunity to really talk to someone. But he could have benefited from talking to someone, and also, you know, in nowadays, it's something that we need to be prepared for.
Yeah.
Everybody's watching.
And, you know, unfortunately, sometimes, I would say a lot of the times, even when officers go viral on social media for bad reasons, that still doesn't motivate them to train. And I know that from experience because I've reached out to certain officers saying, hey, like, this will be anonymous. You can come train with me for free for a year. And I get turned down.
You know, and that's why I say strong and skilled, unlikely to kill, because, you know, sometimes you can't avoid certain things. But if you're strong and skilled, not only skilled in knowing case law, use of force law, every policies and procedures, but also, you know, skilled in some kind of martial art, and you're physically strong. Those three things, not necessarily in that order, are a good way to make sure that you are ready for duty. You're fit for duty. And sometimes, you know, you could avoid some of those situations where you end up using ineffective force, or you look maybe incompetent, or you are not as effective as you can be.
Yeah. That's all we preach all the time is you need to be skilled in martial arts. You need to be in shape. You need to be strong and be in shape, like have good cardio. And you need to be proficient in your case law and your policy and procedures. If you got those three down, then, you know, the chances of something happening is a lot less, of like something bad happening to you or a suspect or anyone, one of your coworkers, because you're all out there together.
Well, you know, I mean, like one thing that I look at is it's not even just about you, right? Every time we show up to a scene, we bring a gun to the scene. And if you are so out of shape that you can't retain your gun, or you are so unskilled that you can't retain your gun, that gun could be used on your partner or an innocent bystander. And it's not just about you. And sometimes we gotta be reminded of that. You know, we gotta take the initiative and train, because it's not just about me.
I think there's a quote out there. I can't like say it verbatim, but it's something about if you have a gun on your hip, or even like if you're a CCW owner, you have a gun on you and you're not skilled, you're carrying that gun for someone else. They're going to take it from you.
I mean, I don't know what the saying is, but just what you said makes sense to me. Yeah. I mean, they're going to take it from you and use it on you.
Yeah.
I'd rather not carry that. Well, of course, if you're on duty, you have to carry.
Yeah.
But maybe you shouldn't. Now, what else? What would you say to recruits to prepare when they show up to like defensive tactics class?
Before they show up?
Yeah, before they show up. Like let's say you know somebody that's going to be starting the academy, and they're a week away. What would you advice be to that person?
A week out?
A week out.
You know, I would at this point it's too late to get in shape or
Sure.
get some training in. So you are what you are. I'd say come in with an open mind. You're gonna have bad days. You're gonna have good days. You're gonna make a lot of mistakes. What the instructors are looking at is not necessarily the mistakes, but it's how you overcome them. Are you continuing to make the same mistake over and over again? Are you learning from that mistake and you're improving? That's what we're looking at. So, you make a mistake, you can't be so hard on yourself. You bring it home with you and you're not going to learn from it, because then you are going to have a hard time the rest of the academy and probably on field training. So you just have to continue to grow and take things in, and everything's day by day.
I think that's a mistake that some people make is they come in thinking long term. We got 80 hours of DTAC training. How do I pass the test? Well, wait a minute. You're in day one.
Mm-hmm.
How do you pass this first hour? Let's focus on that, right?
Yeah, they're just looking at graduation day.
Graduation. Can't wait to put on that uniform and walk across the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a nice moment, but that doesn't define what you're going to do when you go in the field.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we got to stay focused. Stay focused. How about if somebody's, 6 months out? What do you suggest to them?
6 months out, I would say you need to be running several times a week, long distance and sprints. Switch it up between hill sprints, stair sprints. You need to be lifting weights. You need to be training in martial arts. Find a gym close to where you live. Train jiu-jitsu, train wrestling, try boxing. If you don't want to do anything live, that's fine because you're worried about getting injured, but at least drill the techniques. And then, at the end, usually most academies or gyms, they'll drill for like 45 minutes. And at the end, they have you go live. And then just drill for 45 minutes and tell the instructor, hey, I have the police academy coming up. I don't feel comfortable going live. Like, no big deal. Like, no one's going to hold that against you, but at least you're learning something. So that would be my suggestion.
And I think that's a great suggestion because people come in ill-prepared.
Yeah.
At least some departments prepare you somewhat. They expose you to different possible workouts that you might see in the academy, as well as some striking, maybe some ground movements, and that's really great because that's what you need. You need to at least try it before you get to the academy, so you make the mistakes there. You're not under the pressure of the academy, and you learn. And then when you get to the academy, go ahead and you already been there. You've already learned how to shrimp, how to sprawl, and now you just do it.
I mean, and we see like the recruits that come in that do have a real martial arts background, not what they think is a martial arts background.
Right.
They typically do better during defensive tactics over the 6 months. I mean, it is what it is. They do better. I think they more times than not make better decisions in scenarios as well. And I think that's because they've trained martial arts for whatever period of time. So they're used to that stress inoculation training. So when we put them through scenarios and they're stressed and someone's, the role player is assaulting them, whatever it is, it's like, okay, I've been here before because I've been on the mats training forever long. Like, their mind's clear. They're not freaking out. They don't get tunnel vision as much, and they make more sound decisions.
I think that's so important because, especially for this profession, whether you're in the military or you're in law enforcement or a first responder, you need to have a clear mind under stress. If you don't, that's when we make mistakes. And for anyone not to train under stress inoculation conditions, they're doing themselves a disservice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, even the police departments, when they do their yearly training, the officers don't get stress inoculation. I think it would be very rare if they get it. They usually just are drilling handcuffing or maybe arm pries, and then that's it.
We need to train under stress.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think are the benefits of training striking for law enforcement?
Well, one, if a police officer, like let's say someone's going to the police academy and they've never been punched in the face, well, they get out in the field and they still haven't been hit in the face, I think they're going to react differently compared to if they've been there before. Either they're going to react with excessive force or they're going to cower it away. So I think it's important to at least experience what it's like to get hit so you don't freak out in real life when it happens. Another benefit of boxing, I think, is footwork. It's very important for police officers to have good footwork. If you don't, you could lose your balance and fall. Also, with striking, it's good, especially with boxing, to learn how to parry and move your head. So if a suspect's trying to hit you, you know how to block, you know how to parry, slip, to be able to protect yourself. And you have that good footwork to angle out. And with angling out, you can get to a tool, you can get to a takedown, lots of different things.
Yeah, speaking of angling out, I mean, a lot of people don't really know how to angle out. They move straight back. And no
Yeah.
matter how many times you tell them, it just doesn't click unless you're actually doing it. If somebody's coming at you with some hands and you pivot and change the angle, then that person give them a different look, and now they're a target. They're a target now instead of you being the target. And that's something that's hard for some people in the academy to understand unless we actually do it.
Yeah. I mean, even all the videos online we see of like officers and use of force incidents, a majority of the time they go straight back.
And the problem with that is you don't know what's behind you.
Yeah.
You don't know what's back there. I mean, it could be one of those, what are they, chingaderas called, that are stop the cars?
Curves.
The curve. Is that what it's
I
called?
don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, the car
I just
stopper.
think it's funny when you say chingaderas. You always say that in class.
Yeah, those things. I mean, like, you're in a parking lot, it's dark, you don't see it, you start backing up straight back, you end up on your butt.
Yeah, and if you go straight back, the suspect can gain ground faster compared to if you angle out.
100%. There's no way you can outrun somebody running backwards.
Yeah.
No, it's never going to happen.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I want to see that video if somebody can do that.
Maybe a NFL player. I don't know.
Maybe. You never know. What about the ground techniques, the ground skill? How does that benefit cops?
Oh man, like so many different ways. It's stress inoculation training, because if you train jujitsu, even if you spar in boxing, you're going live with someone putting pressure on you and essentially trying to hurt you. So in real life, you don't freak out. You stay calm in the moment to make better decisions and have more effective force. At least for me, like with jujitsu, I roll with men. And all these guys are bigger than me, they're stronger than me. And I've learned, over the 18 years I've been doing jujitsu, how do I get out of positions of disadvantage? What works for me compared to maybe what works for someone bigger than me? Because some techniques are going to be more effective for me compared to like a man, and vice versa. We watch videos of police officers on the ground and they just start punching over and over again, and it's ineffective, and it's excessive. And sometimes it's not, but ineffective force appears to be excessive. When if they just knew a couple jujitsu techniques, they wouldn't even have had to throw all these punches over and over again. Jujitsu gives you that confidence as well. That confidence. I think if you have confidence, you use excessive force because you don't freak out and you know like what to do in the moment, and you know what you're capable of. I know for me, like I would go into situations and, I would be able to stay calm in the moment. Like when I had a suspect starting to like amp up and become assaultive, like I just didn't not that I'm not trying to be cocky, like anything can happen, but I just was always knew like I can figure it out. Like I've been here before. Like, yeah, anything can happen and I need to be careful. Obviously I always wait for cover, but I know that I'm more skilled than the average person my size. So I know that the chances that I can find a way to be effective and place this person under cuffs is greater than someone that doesn't train.
Well, when you say that, I think about how you're always talking about chain wrestling, and how, the standard by the peace officer standards and training is to two techniques of 14 skills, right? And for passing the test at the end of the academy. But you talk about chain wrestling and actually doing jujitsu under pressure, going live. It gives you so many different options, more than two options of doing things. So is that how it builds the confidence?
That's one of the ways. I talk about chain wrestling a lot at the academy, but also with my program, OTX Tactics, and the way I teach with my program. So let's say one of the classes I'm doing all Russian Thai takedowns. I'll show probably like 5 different takedowns. And then the last like 15, 20 minutes, I show the officers how to chain them together. And what that means is if one takedown fails, how do you chain it into something else? And you keep chaining techniques together until you win. And if you don't bring that concept together, I think it's a big mistake for police officers because they're going to do a technique and it's going to fail because not everything's 100% effective all the time. It's going to fail and they're going to be like, crap, what do I do now? But if they know how to chain techniques together, their confidence is going to be better and they're going to be able to do it in a live situation.
Which is really important because the minute something fails, what do people resort to? I think they resort to their tools, and it may not be effective. Like what I was talking about that one officer where a couple of tools failed, and what's plan B? You got to have plan B.
A lot of officers don't, but yeah, you got to have it.
I feel that it's not just the officer's responsibility, but I think it's also the community's responsibility and the department's responsibility, the profession's responsibility to ensure that when you trust a person to put on a badge or a star and go out in the street, we got to make sure that those people are highly trained so that we don't, overreact. Because in our profession, overreacting can mean taking somebody's life.
Yeah. I think my exit interview for my police department in Missouri, I remember it was with a female officer, and she asked me my exit interview, when I was lateraling to California, she goes, what is any improvements you think this police department needs? And the only thing I said was, we don't get enough training. I said, I get DTAC, once every 2 years. And I said, the DTAC is you have me grab a baton and I'm hitting a dummy and you have me spraying my OC and it's a check the box and then that's it. I said, I go hands-on almost every day at this police department the last 8 years. And she was like, yeah, like, you're right. I agree with you, but I don't think anything changed after I said that. So,
oftentimes things don't change from one conversation, but I'm hoping that, if we have this conversation often enough, somebody that can make a difference is actually listening, and we start that conversation with people that are the decision makers.
yeah.
It has to happen. It has to happen. We're having trouble in this profession recruiting people. And in part is because many of these young men and women see what's happening on social media or in the news. People, officers getting arrested for excessive force or wrongful death. And, something's got to change. Something's got to change. And until it changes, we're going to continue to have recruiting problems.
Yeah. I mean, I think, the last several years, the amount of people wanting to be a cop has decreased. And people see, like, on social media, what's happening.
And that's why I think it's so important to make sure, whoever's out there that's looking to become a cop, God bless them, first of all, because in these times it's tough. So you really must want to be a cop. And in doing so, do your homework. Figure out which department fits what you want to do in your career. And which department is going to train you to a high level so that you are as effective as possible in the street, and they keep you out of jail, keep you out of jail, keep you out of the social media light.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something else. What would you tell your younger self? I'm just wondering. I'm just throwing that out there. Like,
I tell myself to be a firefighter.
to be a. Oh man, is that well, I don't want to talk about toxicity, but I wonder if that's as toxic as
Probably.
law
Yeah.
enforcement.
Yeah, it is, because I have a couple female friends that are firefighters. But the question, what would I tell myself
Your younger self. Yeah.
as like being a cop
As far as going into this profession, the law enforcement profession.
as far as martial arts? We have to be
Well, I mean,
specific.
okay, I'm just saying in general. So, like, you're telling your younger self, hey, you know what? You're thinking about going into law enforcement. Do this, or watch out for this.
As far as martial arts, it's hard for me to answer that just because I went into the police academy already with so much martial arts experience under my belt, and I went into the academy in amazing shape. Like, I don't remember a lot of my academy because it was, 2010, but I remember the first week, they PT you like crazies. They're trying to get you to quit. And I just remember the instructors like being in shock because I was out sprinting all the men, doing more push-ups than them, running faster than them than the long distance. Like, they were just like, wow, like, who is this, tiny person that's doing. And then I didn't want the instructors to know my martial arts background, so I was like, never talked about it, like, and I was hoping they wouldn't find out, but somehow they figured it out. So yeah, once the instructors found out about like my background, they definitely gave me more shit because it gave me a little bit harder time just because they were trying to mess with me, but it was all in good fun. Yeah, I mean, me personally, I have your mindset. So I knew as a young girl I wanted to be a police officer. So that was a big motivator for me to do martial arts because I knew, like, okay, eventually I'm going to be a cop when I'm an adult. So I'm going to start training now. Like, I know I'm small. I know I'm not as strong as, a lot of the men out there. So I'm training now. So I had that mindset. Not everyone does. But yeah, I mean, that would be my biggest advice is if you're thinking about being a cop, you need to start training now.
Start training.
Yeah.
Start training. But the thing is that a lot of us are not honest with ourselves and don't do it an accurate assessment. We blame everybody else, or we make up excuses instead of looking in the mirror and saying, hey, you know what? Like you said, I'm shorter stature, and if I want to be a cop, I may struggle. Mm-hmm. So let me do something about it now.
Yeah.
Most of us don't do that. It takes a certain type of psyche to do that, to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and
I don't wake up at 3 a.m. like you. That you do that. I sleep and then I go work out and train.
Everybody's got a different schedule, different internal clock. Probably by the time you're at your peak, I'm already on the way down from waking up so early.
Yeah.
Yeah. They talk about ethical standards in the post curriculum, and one of them that they mention in there is that peace officers basically, in essence, have the responsibility to educate themselves and be up to date with current techniques, which would include, when we're talking about DTAC or defensive tactics, that we should be up to date with current techniques and be able to actually do them. When I read that for the first time, I thought, well, there was some thought into this ethical standard, right? But do we actually do it?
No. I mean, simple answer.
That's a simple answer. But see, it's so troubling to me because somebody actually thought of this, and they're setting this what should be the standard. They're letting us know, hey, ethically doing the right thing is to continue to train at an acceptable level. And yet the individuals, we don't do it. And the profession, with providing us 4 hours every, 18 months, I don't think we're upholding that ethical standard.
I had an officer a couple nights ago that comes to my OTX classes, and he said, I've been trying to get my friend that's a fellow officer to come to your class. And he finally said to me, if the police department isn't paying for it and they're not providing it, I'm not doing it. And that was his response to training anywhere. Not, I mean, I don't care if you train with me, just go train somewhere. He wasn't going to do any type of training at any gym. And that mindset is just, that's crazy.
It's a poor mindset. I mean, you know what? One thing comes to mind. Well, several things come to mind, but one thing is that cops, we're cheap as hell. We don't want to spend our money. But you know what? Hey, we're going to go out drinking. Okay, let's do it.
I agree. I think a lot of cops that's one of the reasons why they don't train is because of finances. But on the other side of that, me and you for 3.5 years provided free defensive tactics every week, and we would get very little turnout for 3.5 years every single week. We've held seminars, like we mentioned earlier, that were donation based. Like you can donate $1, and you have black belt, officers teaching, and it's to raise money for a fellow officer that got shot, and like extremely low turnout. So on the other side of that is, well, there is free training being offered, and officers are aware of it and not taking advantage of it.
How do we change that culture? Because I mean, it's in our culture to not take advantage of training, whether it's free or we pay for it. But it's at the end of the day, it's going to benefit us, keep us out of jail.
I think it starts at the top. I think, also instructors need to help motivate, which we do. But once they get into their police departments, lead by example. When they see their sergeants, for example, what I talked about earlier in lineup, talking about drinking all weekend, and that they don't train, well, that sets the example of like, well, my sergeant drinks all the time, or my lieutenant goes out drinking all the time, and they don't train, so why do I need to train?
I agree with you. I also think of administrators at different levels. There are very few that work out or yet alone do some kind of martial art.
Yeah.
Very few. I can think of 2 people in my old agency out of, I don't know how many people we have these days, but 1,600, 1,700, whatever it is, administrators that actually used to train. And one of them I can think of was an instructor in DTAC, but I think the other one's retired. But very few people actually train, and I think that's part of the problem, because the people that don't train are the same people that, when they graduate from the academy, they are never going to step another foot into the mat room, and so for the rest of their lives, they're going to support non-training.
And you see, like, I don't know if you've seen this on social media, but I have the departments across the U.S., and it's very few percent, but there's a couple departments in the U.S. where like the chiefs are like big jiu-jitsu advocates, or they train jiu-jitsu. And so those chiefs, because jiu-jitsu is a big part of their life, those officers at that department are training. Like they're like, yep, everyone's training, and they have training held very often in-house. So it starts at the top, because those chiefs are really big on jiu-jitsu and know the benefits of police officers training jiu-jitsu, that their officers are training.
I mean, it's, I guess it comes down to leadership, whoever is driving the car, that person sets the standard. And I know we had a conversation earlier this week where you shared with me that a security guard company
Hmm.
had a much higher standard than police departments, and that just I'm like completely blown away because here we have a security guard company, and yet the leadership within that company
Hmm.
is what sets the standard for training.
Yeah.
What you want to share a little bit about what you told me?
Yeah. So I mean, I'll say their name because I'm very impressed by them. They're called Iron Goat.
Okay.
It's a executive protection security company. The two bosses are all about training, and they are holding training for all the EP or security guards monthly. It's like firearms 1 month, and then combatives, and then firearms and combatives. Like every month, they're holding free training for all the guards, and it's very encouraged to go. They try to make it on days and times where the most people can attend. And I'm blown away because I'm like, wow, my 12 years in law enforcement, never got this amount of training. Like every month, it's amazing. When you look at it's amazing, and I'm very impressed. But I'm like, security guards are getting this training,
Right.
and the odds of them getting in a shooting or going hands on are a lot smaller than a police officer that's on a beat. So it also made me sad because I was like, man, I wish police officers got this amount of training.
It's almost like that should be the standard for law enforcement, not for a security company.
Yeah.
And it actually should be higher than that because the chances are that we're going to end up using force. We're going to end up maybe getting in a shooting. I mean, with all these ambushes that are happening these days, the likelihood has increased dramatically.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in this company, I'm very impressed by the leadership by the two owners. So they're great men, and I'm very impressed by them. So they're good people.
But when we talk about leadership, it's like it works both ways because depending on the leadership, we can have something positive happen, like this security company that you mentioned, as well as having a good wellness program in your agency. But also, we have poor leadership now. We have sloppy cops that there's no expectation how they look when they show up to work, both their uniform as well as the way they present themselves. They don't. There's no physical fitness standard, and it could be even worse than that, where people violate EEO. I know that's a whole different topic, but we'll explore some other time. But it's all because of leadership, and if we could just get leadership to really take a look at this topic and understand that cops need to be strong and skilled, maybe we can change things up.
Yeah. One thing I see is I see obviously a lot higher percent of cops work out compared to training martial arts, but obviously you need both. But the problem with that is a lot of officers, do CrossFit, or they lift weights all the time, or they run marathons, which is great. Like, yes, continue to do that. But I think that gives them a false sense of confidence,
Yes.
because you could be this big buff dude and have all these muscles or be able to run 12 miles. But if you don't have the skills and the techniques to control a combative subject, your muscles or your cardio is only going to take you so far. I mean, yes, it's going to help, but it's not going to be as helpful as if you have that martial arts background. I mean, in the martial arts background, even if you only do that, that gives you cardio and that helps give you strength if you're actively training. I mean, it's best to do both separate, but I think if you can only do one, I would say martial arts, because I get a ton of cardio, like when I'm boxing or sparring or doing jujitsu, and I know I'm getting stronger doing it too.
I agree with you. The thing is, in addition to what you said, if you have all these muscles and you're trying to bear hug somebody or use your brute strength, that burst of energy is going to last for about 30 seconds. And then you're going to build all that lactic acid in your muscles, those big ass muscles, and all of a sudden, cerote. You can't do anything. Big fat zero. And it's detrimental
Yeah.
if you have no skill, because now your muscles are gone. Now what do you do?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd always, throughout my career, would see officers, lifting weights, which is great. I'm not knocking it, but, when I was out in the field, these big muscular officers would get in use of forces and they didn't have a clue on what they were doing, but they had nice muscles. So I don't know. Looked good in uniform, but when it came down to getting dirty, they didn't know what to do.
It's got to be whatever you're doing. It's got to be applicable to the job.
Yeah.
And you need both. You definitely need both. Not to mention, probably number one is to be aware of the law, what you can and cannot do, what type of force you can use under certain circumstances, what does case law say, and it should just be second nature.
Yeah.
You don't have time to look at a book before you make a decision. You got to just make that decision.
That's something else that supervisors can cover during roll call. Go over some case law.
Yeah, I don't know that. In my experience as a supervisor, when I did lineup, there was a mixture of leadership. There were some people that were pro training and at least share stuff in lineup. And then there were other people that did the opposite.
Yeah. It's good to have that camaraderie and, check on your officers. You're like, how was your weekend? But if you're doing that for 45 minutes every single lineup, like that's a problem. Let's use that time to our advantage.
Yeah. Well, there's a time and a place. There's a time and a place for everything. And sometimes in those group settings, you want to maximize your time and use it to your advantage. So like that's a great opportunity for something educational. Yeah. The use of force at the academy. Use of force at the academy. Sometimes I've seen some very smart individuals that come through and they can articulate just about anything. But when they're put through an actual scenario where they have to go hands on, there's a disconnect where people hesitate to take action, and that can be costly. I think we need to ensure that we build confidence in our knowledge base, because otherwise, that's what I kind of have seen. What's been your experience?
Yeah, I see that. And I see when we do 2 officer scenarios, like one recruit's getting their butt kicked and the other recruit's watching. They're not helping. We do our best to teach and to motivate. And I think we get through to a lot of them, not everyone. I wish everyone the best in their careers. And I hope eventually things click for the ones where, maybe they don't click during the academy. But yeah, there's, you get all sorts of different people that want to be cops, and some have the right mindset and some don't. That's just part of it. I mean, I guess that's part of the academy, is recognizing the ones that probably shouldn't be doing this job.
Yeah, and sadly, in talking to different departments, we have a lot of people that come into the academy, and by the time they hit the streets, the percentages are very low.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I don't know what's going on, but it's just interesting that we have people that put themselves through the academy for 6 months. They put themselves through all that work, and then in less than a year, they decide this is not for me.
Yeah.
Didn't used to be like that.
No, different generation coming through.
Yeah, and I wonder if we invested more time in getting people trained up to a different level, a better level, would that even make a difference?
I think it would.
I see a
Yeah.
lot of people that come through, and even right before graduation, they still are hesitant about making decisions.
Yeah.
They're still having that trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we tell recruits all the time, look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself honestly, are you capable of doing this job?
Sometimes it's difficult to look in that mirror.
Yeah.
You know, I'm getting wrinkles, and I don't want to look in the mirror. I don't want to look in the mirror. I try to avoid it as much as possible. But yeah, it's tough to look in that mirror. It's tough to look in that mirror. Even I can think back, um, when I went through the academy, and it's been a while, but you know, we didn't have some of the scenarios that I've seen in this academy and other academies, and we had some other challenges. But you know, many people, we lie to ourselves, and we think, "Oh, I got this," until you actually respond to calls and stuff starts to happen. You realize, wait a minute, maybe I don't have this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my best friend's a field trainer, and he tells me stories of, certain police officers that are on field training. And he's like, how did this person graduate the academy? And it's, you know, a lot of things at the academy we document, but unfortunately, there's no repercussion for all the documentation we make.
And that's an administrative issue that at some point needs to be addressed. But we'll just keep training
Yeah.
you, and we'll try to go beyond the minimum standard so that people can build their confidence.
Yeah. And I don't think either of us will ever lose our motivation to train and just try to help as many people as we can. And I think that's why we click so well, because
I
we're in it for that reason and not for any other reason.
I agree with you. You know, money's important, obviously, for basic needs, right? But money's never been my motivator.
Yeah,
Um,
same.
I mean, like when I first met you, or around the time that I first met you, you were giving the free classes down a couple miles from here, and on Fridays. And I thought, man, you know what? That's really cool. I got to go check it out. So I went to check it out, and I saw that it was legit. You're doing it for free, not asking for anything. The person that owned the gym wasn't asking for anybody to join up. It was just come in and make a better version of yourself. And ever since then, clicked up. I was like, you know what? Yeah, this is a good place. Good place to be. Not many people are like that.
Yeah.
Very few people are like that.
Yeah. And as usual, there were haters that thought that there was some motivation behind the free classes. And I was like, nope, I'm not benefiting from this. The gym's not getting anything out of it. We all just want to help other people.
The problem with haters is that they're in a bad place. They're in a bad place. Their haters are never going to be in a better place than you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah. We try to guide these young men and women to get like the free training that we were talking about. And, it's just amazing to me that low turnouts, and when there were high turnouts, people were trying to stop it.
Yeah, it was very disappointing.
Very disappointing. I think sometimes people can't believe that somebody's actually doing something for free, and there's no, you know, there's no angle.
Yep, story of my life. Yeah, it was me and you built a great program over those 3.5 years. Even, yeah, we got a low turnout most days. But even with the low turnout, I know that we helped, the people that did come, we helped them and gave them some skills to help keep themselves safe. And, it was great while it lasted. So we had to shut it down.
Well, there's several people that went through during that time that actually continue their training, and at least I can think of a couple that got that belted in jujitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We motivated people to find a gym and train, a gym close to where they live, not necessarily that gym, but yeah, we did help some people. Those 3.5 years we did the free class. So in that sense, it was worth it.
for sure. For sure, it was worth it. Even if it would have been just for one person, that's completely worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know what motivates other people to hate so much, but there are a lot of people out there that are actually trying to help other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's other police officers in San Diego that I see hold free seminars from time to time. So, which is good. It's good to see that.
I think there's one coming up.
Yeah. What's his name?
Oscar?
Oscar.
Yeah.
He has one coming up in a couple weeks. I know a couple weeks ago there was a free one in Temecula that a police officer up there threw. So, yeah, I mean, there's others out there that are trying to do this for the right reasons. So that's good to see.
Hopefully, people are watching, people are listening, and then that way, people start getting out and training.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta get people trained up. Any final thoughts?
No, I think bottom line, what we talked about today is, officers are severely undertrained, and there needs to be a positive change in this profession, not just locally but around the country. So, and the common denominator is officers need more training. They need more hands-on training. So, me and you are just trying to motivate at this point.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like for a while now, it's been like almost one officer shot every single day in the United States. And if that number doesn't scare you that you need to train, I don't know what could possibly motivate you to get out and train. But like I said earlier, you know what? It's not just the individual's responsibility; it's the whole system's responsibility, and we got to get out. We got to somehow find a way to get officers and deputies to train on the clock, so that we don't kill people unnecessarily. I grew up in neighborhoods where people were poor, and excessive force, real thing, and a lot of people anti-police. So I understand both sides, and the only way we're going to get support is if we actually do something as a law enforcement profession to get strong and skilled and stop killing.
Yeah, 100%.
Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you.
All right.